know, the best case scenario when you're running a road like this is you got double guardrails. Double guardrails is a beautiful thing. I've had my license for 16 years, and in that 16 years, I've driven a lot of fast cars, I've had a lot of fun, and I have never received a speeding ticket. And I don't mean that I've received speeding tickets and fought them in court and gotten away with it. I mean that I have never been issued a written citation, just warnings on occasion. Now, before I jinx myself, we'll knock on wood down here actually on the Porsche. Little known fact, that's wood. All right, now we can keep talking. The last time you saw this Porsche, I was getting pulled over in it. Oh shoot, that's not good. I'm going to meet him in a second. Yep. And I did not receive a ticket, and I'll tell you what I do when I do get pulled over. And I also popped in the radar detector just for good measure. So you could say, well, if you don't want speeding tickets, don't speed. But we all know that people don't abstain. You're going to speed. There's just no way around it. Speeding is inevitable because speed limits are so low. So we know that that's going to happen, but how do you avoid those interactions? Oh, of course it doesn't close when I'm on the camera. There we go, that's nice. We know that you're going to be speeding on the highway. You're going to be going 75 miles per hour. It depends what mood that cop is in. And if you're somebody who likes to have some spirited drives, this is probably the video for you. So let's jump in the Porsche and I'll tell you what I do and how I avoid those unpleasant interactions with people who can cost you a lot of money. Super duper houndstooth mask made by David's mom, the guy who owns Garage 42. It has such a tall reverse gear, it's insane. Who is driving this fast going backwards? Lots of noise from these race pads in reverse. Tripod, and we're down. The first rule of not getting tickets is just not driving like an asshole. Choose your battles wisely. And make sure that your car is up to snuff. Make sure you've got the car, A, registered, B, inspected if your state has a state inspection. Don't give them a reason. And then the obvious stuff, right? Do you have a taillight out? Do you have a headlight out? Are you giving them any reason, even a front license plate not being on your car? I know you don't like the aesthetics, but you're just giving them a reason to take you down. And if you have something like that, they're more likely to give you that ticket for 5 or 10 over, because now you're just pissing them off. Now you're just challenging them. It's like the wolf in Pulp Fiction. He gives him the NSX and he asks him about his car, and he's like, if there's so much as a taillight out, I need to know about this, because he's got a dead body in the trunk. Always drive like you've got a dead body in the trunk. See, roads like this, if you're ripping up and down roads like this every day, those people, they're gonna start calling you in. They're gonna be like, hey, there's a lot of traffic driving at alarming rates, and I'm hearing a lot of noise, especially if you're, you know, the kind of guy with a modified car. Your exhaust is a point against you. I know, we all feel like, you know, it's a free country, blah, blah, blah. But like, look, you're calling attention to yourself electively. And the more attention you call to yourself, the more likely you're gonna experience some police intervention. This is why my E39 M5 is largely stock and very quiet. Everyone tells me you got to make it loud and do this whole thing, but like, I love that car flies under the radar so well. But you need to be familiar with the roads that you're driving. I think every time I've had the oh no moment when I've stood on the brakes is I've come around a corner and it was in a place that I'm not used to driving. And it's like, oh, he's sitting right there and he's just waiting for me. Like, I'm the target because I'm doing exactly what he's expecting me to do. I'm driving fast in an unfamiliar location, even though he probably sits in that same spot every other day for like a year, which is a good time to bring up the radar detector. So radar detectors, they kind of go in and out of style because look, they work, but they have to be a tool. It is not your arsenal. This is not the only thing separating you between a ticket and no ticket, because if you rely on it, I mean, there's so many people I know that use radar detectors and they all say the same thing. They go, oh, I got more tickets with my radar detector on than without it. And that's simply because relying on just a tool, that's a tool. All that's supposed to do is give you a tiny baby little layer of extra safety net. It is not going to be the thing that saves you. And it can occasionally save you, but that's the last resort. Your radar detector should always be your last resort. But you're probably more likely to get pulled over on the highway. And this is where you need to know, again, you need to be familiar with the roads. You need to think about, I'm getting on this on-ramp. Is there a cutout at the end of this on-ramp? Is there a spot? Is this like the spot where the cop sits hidden in the trees to watch these guys, but I rip around here at 80 miles an hour and he's just waiting for me? Now, there's no spot right there, but he could also be on the highway already. So you need to be looking back and making sure that as you're accelerating, you're not going to get caught by the cop who's already here waiting for you. And then there's another cutout. So again, you've got to choose your battles. And on the highway, you should always be looking very far ahead, but don't forget to check your six, because remember, cops will pull you over for doing 10, 15 miles an hour over, but they have no problem driving 90, 95 miles per hour on their journey. They're not intimidated by speed because they're above the law. They get to drive 95 miles an hour. Who's going to pull over the cop? Which is a whole nother story, especially when they're doing that and then they come up and tailgate somebody who is legally passing in the left lane. Very frustrating. The hypocrisy is outrageous. If you're on a spirited trip on the highway, it's a good idea to always be checking ways, to be utilizing your radar detector, because you don't know what's up ahead. It can look like there's all this stretch of road that you could just be going 90, 100 miles an hour and enjoy it safely. And technically, sure, you are safe, but you're not safe from the law. So as I'm coming up to this, if I were actually really going for it and I was on the pedal, I'm going to have to slow down before I get to this blind corner, because there could be something lurking beneath these trees. And boom, there I am, just coming around a blind corner. And remember, the state police are likely running laser. They're not running radar. So this guy, he's not going to pick that up. He's only going to pick up stray signals that are bouncing all around because somebody's sitting there running KA band off the back of their cruiser, or with a long outdated radar gun that all the local municipalities use. But state troopers, they're going to be using that long gun, that laser gun. And this, yes, it will pick it up if it feels the signal, but the signal's already here. He already has you in his sights, so it's too late. And unless you have laser jammers on the front of your car, that's going to send him back an error message, which, by the way, he's going to understand exactly what that means, that you do have that. You're just going to miss it and you're going to get pulled. Blind crests are another one. We're coming over a hill. We can't see what's on the other side of this. He could just be sitting right on the shoulder up here waiting for me as I go 120 miles an hour over the crest. So blind crests, blind corners, make sure, the best case scenario when you're running a road like this is you got double guardrails. Double guardrails is a beautiful thing. When you've got guardrails running for a mile up the side of a road on both sides, you know that everything that's going to be there waiting for you for a police presence is only going to be able to sit on the side of the road, in which case you should be able to pick up with your vision. But if you do get pulled, you need to kind of woo that cop. You need to make sure that this police officer feels like you have their best interest in mind. Pull over in a safe spot. You can even ask that question. Hey, is this an okay spot? I thought this was safe. Are you comfortable here? Make sure you present that you have them in mind. You understand that you're getting pulled over, but care for them. That's good psychology. Care for them and communicate. You're in America, right? So you don't just reach around and grab stuff. You say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to reach into my glove box to grab my registration. Is that okay? I'm going to reach into my wallet to grab my license. Is that okay? Make sure the car is off. Make sure you're parked in a safe place. Like, there's all these simple things that you can do to make the cop feel safe. And when you have their best interest in mind, they might be a little nicer to you. Because if you're one of these monsters, I know we've all seen it, people pull over to the left on a highway. Like, dude, you're like literally asking to have your license revoked if you do that. You've got to make sure that you're in a good spot, that you're on like deep into that shoulder. If there is no shoulder, find a place where there is one. And don't pull over in like a turn. Just make sure it's okay. And if it's pouring rain, pull over under the nearest overpass if there's one within reason. I mean, don't drive like 3 miles. That's a chase. That's evading arrest. 87,000 miles. Good kid. And if you do get slapped with a ticket, there's options. You can hire a lawyer. That's the smartest thing to do. That's the way you're going to get out of this thing. There are lawyers who are very good at getting people out of tickets, and whether they get you out of it completely or not, they might reduce that fine significantly. And a lawyer for something like that usually only costs like $400 or $500. So if you think about it, the added insurance premium that you'd end up with if you accepted the ticket is probably more than just paying this upfront cost to make sure you have a squeaky clean record. Plus, you don't want to have those points on your license at all, because then if you get 2 more tickets, you're losing your license. You don't want to, you can't afford that. So I know it sounds really simple, because it is really simple. I'm not a genius, I'm not a psychic. There's a cop right there. Recognize the signs, see if there's, if you see somebody behind you with a roof rack that looks like a light bar, just assume it's a light bar. Just assume until you know for sure. And there's a lot of undercover cops around here too, so you know what? You're not gonna hit them all. But basically, don't give them a reason to pull you over. So taillights, headlights, license plates, all that good stuff. Don't drive like a jerk. Driving like a jerk, you're gonna get pulled over and they're gonna have no lenience for you. It's different if you're weaving through traffic and they pull you over versus they caught you going 85 in a straight line in a safe spot. That they are not equal. You're going to get the ticket if you drive like a jerk, and in residential areas. Not good. Don't do it. Use your vision. You have to assume the worst. You got to drive defensively. Assume if you can't see over the hill, there's a cop on the other side of that hill. If you can't see around the corner, there's a cop around that corner. Check for cutouts, so there's still the risk of driving on a straightaway and not realizing there's a cutout in the highway, and boom, there he is tucked away waiting for you. You're the best part of his day. I mean, right here, if you weren't experienced with this road, you're not watching this, boom, they sit right there. And don't rely too heavily on your gadgets. They're just gadgets. Those are aids. Your Waze, your radar detector, those are just aids as last-ditch efforts. Those are like your ultimate safety net when you were being stupid, when you didn't have the intuition, when you didn't have the foresight, when you messed up. That might be the last thing between you and the ticket. So that's all I gotta say. Drive safely. That's the whole point of Respect the Drive. Look, I don't care if you drive fast. I love driving fast, but I don't drive fast relative to safe conditions. I'm always driving within the limits of me as a driver and my car as a machine, because you know what? You don't want to be weaving through traffic. You don't want to be messing around. So good luck out there. Stay out of trouble. I know this is a loud one because the Porsche is like not the sound studio for this particular type of video where I'm just talking, but I appreciate you sticking with me. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. And of course, big thank you to all of the Patreon supporters out there who have helped make this content possible. And you can rest assured knowing that you are not donating money to pay for my stupid speeding tickets, because I do my best not to get them. See you soon.